Welcome back to Apolitical. Thanks for joining me for another show. Let's jump right into today's episode. So we have another city council candidate in the studio with us today. Her name is Jenne Shepherd, and she is running in District 12. Now, District 12 is currently represented by longtime city councilwoman Joyce Sheperd. Councilwoman Shepherd has been making headlines recently because of her sponsorship of the proposed police academy that's currently being debated in City Council. As we know, a lot of Atlanta residents have been pushing back against a $90 million police academy being built just outside of the city. In fact, earlier this summer, a group of residents actually gathered in front of Joyce Shepherd's home in protest of the new police training center. So I'm very curious to see what her opponent thinks of all of this. So coming right up is our interview with District 12 City Council candidate Jenne Shepherd. Stay tuned. All right, so I am joined by District 12 City Council candidate Jenne Shepherd. Ms. Shepherd, thank you so much for coming on Apolitical today.
Thank you for the invite.
Of course. So let's start with your background. I know you've done a lot of community work in Adair Park, but tell me a little bit about your journey and what led you to this place today.
Yeah, so I have a wide range of background. So I've spent the last 6 to 7 years as a stay-at-home wife and mom. I have a 22-year-old son and a 2-year-old daughter. I was the president for Adair Park today, incorporated for 3 years. After that, I continue my advocacy, to be a community advocate in the wide range of different things that I kind of put my hands to. And then, and prior to that, I did customer service for Southwest Airlines. I was a beautician for over 20 years. I have a degree in healthcare administration, 2 degrees, actually, I have. And like I was just mentioning to you, I do radio. I'm on break right now, thank God, because I can't walk into chew gum with this campaign. And so shout out to the Snap Judgment Show and my co-host, Jermaine Thirst.
Very cool. I love that you would be bringing so many different experiences into the position if elected. But can you talk to me a little bit about your role as president of the Adair Park Neighborhood Association and what all that position entailed?
Basically, as a president, it's a lot because there's always meetings, and you have to be abreast about everything that's happening, whether it's the Beltline, or whether it's a new development, or or festivals and everything. Like, you have to be in tune as to what's going on. So it is a lot of meetings. I would tell people that when I was president, I probably attended at least 6 or 7 meetings a week. But that's dedication.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's dedication.
So where is Adair Park for those who may not be familiar?
Yeah. So Metropolitan Parkway going towards the city.
Right.
It's going to be your neighborhood on the left-hand side, the last neighborhood for District 12. It's across the street from Pittsburgh. They're both historic neighborhoods. They are actually historic in the books. Yeah. You'll see signs that says Historic Adair Park. Yeah. It is a heavily gentrified area, but we have a lot of legacy residents who are white, who've been there for a very, very, very long time.
Wow.
And we have legacy residents who are black. We have been looked at as from our present city council person as her gentrified babies, as she likes to say. Which she threw a lot of shade through the years. Has thrown a lot of shade towards Adair Park. I was the only black person on the board my first year. When I stepped down, and the current president will say this to anyone, I gave them a charge, because we have an apartment building that sits on the corner of University in Metropolitan, across the street from the gas station, and it's called Capitol View Apartments. And what's the name of those people? Columbia had just purchased them, and I was stepping down in the middle of the transition, and so it was important to me that we make sure that people stayed housed. And so I kind of went through the whole steps of making sure I contacted the people who need to be contacted so I can get subsidies for people and all of that. And so when I stepped down, I was like, I charge you to continue that work with those apartments. Do not just because they're not a house. Because some people will feel like that. Oh, it's just an edifice that sits here.
Right.
No, they're still a part of Adair Park.
Right.
And so it's important that there are children who live there that I don't want displaced. I want them to still be able to go to Kandezi schools. There are older people, seniors who live there. And you have to make sure that you keep those relationships. Relationships are important. In community, in politics, relationships are everything.
Yeah. Speaking of relationships, one major relationship being tested right now is the one between the people and the police. And we're seeing that relationship being tested even more this year in the form of this new police training facility that's currently being debated in City Council. What did you think when you first heard about this new police academy possibly being built right outside of Atlanta?
Well, my thoughts were a lot of people were thinking was, well, what happened to the other one? That was the first thought. It was like, and you heard people are like, well, years and wear and tear. And I'm like, okay, so, all right. But I think, I'm not going to say that they don't need a facility, but I think that it needs to be earned.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that anything in our lives that we've gotten, we didn't try to work towards, And so if you're not trying to change your relationships with your communities when it comes to policing, and you're not actually putting intentional, and I keep using the word intentional because I think that that's what's needed. I think intentional thought, intentional actions need to be put forth in order to actually make real change and speak truth to power at the same time. So yeah, we are holding our police officers to another standard because you chose that job. We didn't come to you and say, hey, come work for us. You actually said, I'm going to become a police officer. And so when you made that decision, now I'm holding you to another standard, and I'm expecting that you know how to handle that type of power, because the truth is, and like the Bible says, to whom much is given, much is required. So you having some type of restraint, critical thinking skills when things transpire, that's important. And if you can't do those things, then you should probably hand in your badge.
Right.
It's
not the job
and
for
I'm
you.
not saying that police aren't necessary, because they are, but I'm just saying that the way we do things in the United States, not just Atlanta, but the way we do things in the United States when it comes to police and the citizens is, we can look around the world and this approach a whole different way.
Exactly. Probably the closest we've come in Atlanta to changing our approach to policing was last year when the city council attempted to withhold over $70 million from the police budget until the city could conduct a review of policing within Atlanta and APD. And that failed by an 8-7 vote. Your opponent, Joyce Sheperd, was one of the 8 who voted against it. Mm-hmm. Were you familiar with that piece of legislation? Mm-hmm. Yeah. How would you have voted? And what did you think of the bill as a whole?
Well, I would have voted in favor of withholding the $73 million. Okay. Again, like I mentioned, there's no job that I've ever had that you don't have to actually prove why you should be getting a raise. So I think that we've made the whole police idea of police above the law so high that they really believe it.
Yeah.
And so.
Well, they have proof that they can get away with.
Right.
Yeah.
Over and over again, and there's a standard that citizens are asking for to be met, and leadership is ignoring the people who elected them. We have problems with, it goes to the quotas, like having to meet quotas. Why, in order for you to get a raise, you got to meet a quota. In order for you to move up within the department, you have to meet a quota. This is a messed up system that we're in. Yeah. It's a regular hamster wheel, and so not really being, again, intentional about how we change this. Before you give away $73 million, how do we change this atmosphere that we're in?
Right.
Because having to meet, like, I have to take my daughter to Marietta to my aunt's house every day so she can watch her. And I'm on South Cobb, and I'm looking at this week the influx of police officers because it's the end of the month, and they have to meet a quota.
Yeah.
That's sad. And so they're pulling over anyone and everyone that they can. Oh, you 5 miles over the speed limit? Oh, you coming down today? You know, and so yeah, we're looking at this. We're not actually making changes that are going to be effective. Yeah. You know, and that's why people are mad, and that's what I don't get. It's like you're mad because people show up at your house. Really? You really don't understand why? Really? You know, you really don't have a clue as to why they're showing up at your house and they're protesting when we just seen a whole cop kick someone in the face. You know, we're noticing that y'all not doing your job like you're supposed to be. We're paying you though. And mind you, you do realize City Council is giving themselves a raise next year. So a lot of them stay in for that raise. Right. That's like a $10,000 raise. Okay, because they get like 60 something now, and they're going to be getting 70 something next year. Okay, you know, and so yeah, you're not doing your job. We're paying you not to do your job, and you are the chair for public safety, which you should take it even more seriously because you are the chair of public safety. Yeah, you know.
Another issue I know is important for you is the Beltline. They're starting to develop it more on the south side and the west side of the city. What do you hope the Beltline developing brings to District 12?
So my biggest hope is that it brings obviously affordable housing, employment, great opportunities for our mom and pop businesses, as well as great opportunities for entrepreneurship. What I fear will happen is that those things won't happen. Yeah. I fear that those things won't happen because when I was president, I dealt with Murphy's Crossing sits right on the Beltline in Southwest Atlanta. It is a development. It's a building that has been sitting there and just, you know, desolate. And so a few years ago, Beltline came to the neighborhood and said, okay, we're going to draw up a plan for Murphy's Crossing and what this is going to look like. And so that was community engagement at that time. But even in a short span of 5 to 6 years, there was major changes that had transpired already in our neighborhoods. So Murphy's Crossing sits in Oakland City, but it sits between 3 neighborhoods. It sits between Adair Park, Oakland City, and Capitol View. Okay. So I, as president at that time, of course, had gotten wind that they were about to sell this property over to possibly someone who had already acquired a property in Atlanta but did nothing with it. And so that was a concern. And so with that being a concern, I reached out to, at that time, the president of Oakland City was Kyle Lamont, and the president of Capitol View was Christy Peters, and we created the Murphy's Coalition. Murphy's Coalition is still going today. We engaged with neighbors and made surveys. We knocked on doors, got our seniors to fill out surveys as to how they wanted to see, what they wanted to see happen with Murphy's Crossing. We called up the Atlanta Beltline and was like, hey, you know, this is not cool with us, you know, and so we had to force them to listen, you know, and that's why I said my biggest fear is that it won't happen, is because if we don't stay on top of it, it won't.
Yeah. Speaking of things not happening, the city jail has still not been closed. We know the mayor and local activists have been pushing for the jail to be closed since 2018 with the Close the Jail ATL movement. But because of the overcrowding at the Fulton County Jail, many are also pushing for the jail to remain open. How do you feel about that whole debate, and where do you kind of stand on leaving the jail open to at least to Fulton County versus transforming it into some sort of center for social services?
I kind of question, what are y'all doing with these buildings? That's the first part. You're telling me your buildings are falling apart again. I'm like, oh, snap, again. What are we doing? We just don't fix stuff. Don't
Just
build
let the
on.
mold build up.
Yeah, but I do agree with Mayor Lance Bottoms. I think that she needs to continue to do what she said she was going to do. Let's take care of the core problem. Resources has always been the problem. Not having enough or not knowing how to navigate getting resources, But yeah, I do think that it should be exactly what she intended for it to be, a place of equity and resources for the citizens of Atlanta.
Yeah. Jenne, thank you so much. Before I let you go, please tell the people where District 12 is and what are some of the neighborhoods.
So it's very big. So we mentioned Adair Park, we mentioned Pittsburgh, Joyland, South River Gardens, Lakewood Heights, High Point, Sylvan Hills, Capitol View Manor. That's not all of them, but it runs pretty vast.
Yeah, it's pretty big. So if you live in District 12, definitely check out Jenne Shepherd. I'm actually going to leave a link in the description where you can type in your address and see what district you live in. But yeah, Jenne, please let us know where we can keep up with your campaign.
Yes, so you can reach out to me on social media, on Facebook and on IG is Citizens for Jenne Shepherd. My website is www.jenne, Jenne Shepherd, the Good Shepherd in the Bible, SHEPHERD. I am not related to our current city council person. Our names are actually spelled a little bit differently. You can reach out to me through email, jenne@jenneshepard.com as well. Or you can send me a message through my website if you want to reach me, and don't forget to hit the donate button. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Jenne Shepherd, for coming in.
My
we
pleasure.
appreciate you taking the time. We know you're busy out there on the trail, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.